Lost Girl Therapy. Let's talk about the difference between intuition, anxiety, and imagination when you are trying to manifest your person. So, I'm in the process of writing this book where this character, Mia, has an intuitive hit about this guy. She ends up meeting him on the street, and she's like, holy gosh, you're my person. She then has dreams about him, and they're very, like, intuitive dreams. She sees them vividly, the dreams come true, and she's like, you are my person. She then enters into this space of imagination. And the imagination side of this is like, I am future-proofing how this is going to work out. So I have these dreams and they are coming true. And then I am applying my own imagination to see how our life is going to go. So in her case, it is, we meet within 6 months, we're going to get engaged. After 6 months, we are going to like get married in under a year. I am going to match the timeline that everybody else is on. We're going to have kids by the time I'm 28. Bing, 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 done. We're great. Imagination and intuition can work really well together in a manifestation sense outside of, and this is a bold statement, outside of a love life. And the caveat to this is imagination and intuition work really well when you are manifesting a love in your life if they are not a real person in your life yet. So if you are somebody who is intuitive and you get this sense of like, oh my gosh, I like feel like I'm about to meet someone, and you can kind of sort of see them in your third eye, or you can kind of sort of sense what they look like. Intuition and your imagination work perfectly, and that's the space of manifestation. It is, I can feel this partner that I'm dreaming about. I can imagine the life that we are living. It feels really good. When we have real people in our lives that we try to apply this to, things can get real dicey real fast. And I'm writing this out in Mia's character, but it's also something that comes up regularly because I talk to people about this all the time. How do we begin to decipher intuition, imagination, and anxiety when we have a very real person in our lives that we feel intuitively called to, but the circumstances of our life do not support a relationship? And the best way that I can describe it is, intuitively, you can have a hit about someone and you can say, on some level, I feel connected to you. Space number one. Space number two, imagination. Because you are in my real life, I can create 100,000 billion scenarios where this works out for us. I can imagine us running into each other on the street. I can imagine us having dinner by accident. I can imagine running into you like on the subway. I can create hundreds of thousands of scenarios where miraculously you and I run into each other. And that can be a really fun space to play in until we start getting anxious about it. So if we stay in the space of, oh, I have an intuitive hit, and that intuitive hit has actually created an imagination scenario, I can exist happily and nothing about my daily life changes until my intuitive hit comes to fruition. If we start moving into the headspace of anxiety, saying, why isn't it happening? How is it going to happen? This person must mean something more than just me feeling intuitively called to them. We then begin to thwart our own manifestations, and we begin to create scenarios that actually negate, is the word that's coming to mind. It negates our intuition in the sense that when we have an imagination of like, oh, I'm walking down the block and I am going to run into this person, and that's an imaginary scenario, not an intuitive scenario, anxiety says, well, it didn't happen today. And you say you are like walking down the block and you don't run into this person. Anxiety says, it didn't happen today. It's never going to happen. We don't understand what we're doing. Our intuition is wrong. Your intuition is not wrong. Your imagination is just creating scenarios that don't align with your intuition. And that's the really important thing here. Intuitively, if you have a hit about somebody, you can have psychic scenarios. You can have situations where you just know you're going to run into them, and you do. But imagination scenarios are not guaranteed to come true on an intuitive level. And so it's very easy to get discouraged because when you are sitting on the subway or you're walking down the block or you thought that you were going to go out to dinner with them and it doesn't happen, anxiety immediately jumps to the fact that, or jumps to the idea, it's not a fact, that your intuition is somehow wrong about this person and everything is going to hell in a handbasket. And this is the gentle reminder that your imagination does not guarantee that your intuition is going to come true. Your intuition can help you form imaginary scenarios, which then you can manifest, and that can create situations that do come to fruition. But unless you are feeling the imaginary scenarios completely within your body and in a manifestation headspace, aka, I trust fully that I am going to see this person, I feel myself sitting next to them at dinner, I understand on a core, like, intuitive level that this is aligned with me. Unless you're in that headspace, it's highly unlikely that your imaginary scenario is going to come true because it's not an intuitive scenario. All of this to say, if you are somebody who's working on intuition and you are trying to figure out how to trust yourself, pay attention to what you are creating versus what you are sensing. Lean into the sense. Sensing and trusting and following your intuition, even if it's like a third eye hit and you see something, leaning into that self-belief not only improves the trust that we have in our own intuition, but it also can help our imagination almost tame itself so it works in harmony with our intuition, as opposed to having a deeper relationship with our anxiety, which automatically is going to thwart any intuitive hits that we have.